Hey, what's good everyone? And welcome back to another Average Gamer Reviews video. Today we're gonna see if Tormented Souls is worthy being called an homage to the classics, or if it's just a sloppy copy. So, what is Tormented Souls, you may ask? Well, it's a Resident Evil 1 style game. That's the best I can describe it. So, essentially we're stuck in a mansion full of enemies, and we have to solve puzzles, solve the mystery, and escape alive. Really Resident Evil-esque? Isn't that like the plot of the first Resident Evil game? I think so, it is. But anyway, it's like a true survival horror game where ammo is limited, health items are limited, save items are limited. Yes, they are limited, and we'll talk about that in the gameplay section. The main character is like, I want to say an anime girl-esque design, but I don't know if that's intended or not, but that's what it feels like. It's very much a poster person of the entire series. But yeah, as for now, let's jump onto the story, shall we? The game starts off with the main character receiving a letter with a picture of two girls in it, and from the picture she decides to head to Wildberger Hospital, which is on a small island where the picture was taken. While exploring the main hall of the hospital, she gets whacked in the back of the head and knocked out. She awakens naked in a bathtub, with a respirator down her throat and her eyeball missing. From this point onwards, we are left to explore the hospital, which later we find out is actually a mansion that was first transformed into a hospital during the 50s, I think. After some exploring and reading, we find out that the hospital is owned by William Wildberger, the father of the two twins we saw in the picture, and they had gone missing years ago, never to be found again. We also find out that there is a religious cult that lives on the island and operated in the mansion years ago. There are lots of plot lines going on in the story, but they all diverge and in the end are linked together. Although the entire story is told through notes, memos, and there's about 2 characters that speak in the game, which are you, the main character, and a priest. And that's about it. You have about like 3 lines of dialogue that actually explain anything with them. So it's mainly told through these notes. The main plot lines are as follows. We have a religious cult, missing twins, the story of William Wildberger and his wife's strange illness. Also, there's the missing people in and around the area. All of these are the main key plot lines that diverge into one near the end. That shouldn't be a spoiler because that's to be expected. So, as far as story goes in this game, this does merge like a lot of basic horror story tropes of religious cult, missing people, strange disease that can't be cured by normal means. Like, those are such generic like lines that it's actually kind of sad that they use them, just because missing people and cult, these two together, probably everywhere, like the default setting for like a horror game. It's like, there's people missing and there's a strange religious cult, maybe they're doing some sacrifices, oh no. Strange disease is always like a trope to get like a character to do something crazy and go out their way, which is another common trope, which I'm kind of sad that they introduced. I really wished to see like, I want to see like new and interesting stories. I get that they're hard to write, and I'm pretty sure this game was like, I don't even know. I was gonna say it's mainly story driven, but the story is kind of doo-doo. So is it trying to be gameplay driven, in which case it's quite generic and copies Resident Evil 1? I don't know. Like, all the stories told through notes from the past that are dated. The dates don't come, you don't get them in order of the dates. You get them scattered around. So you might get like the 4th memo, the 3rd memo, the 5th memo. We don't get them in order, which hurts the storytelling. It makes it needlessly complex for no reason, because it's not told in a linear order. And then the fact that there are like 5 storylines going on that are all like generic, like from you don't get the generic story until you've read like 4 of the notes. After the first 2, it's kind of open-ended from each storybook, but then it's just like, oh, there's a religious cult that hangs out in the basement of the mansion. Now we know where the missing people are. Oh wow, I wonder if the twins have something to do. It's so generic, and I really hate like really stupidly generic stories. As the story's not bad, it's just generic. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 10. I'm not happy. I really wish that there was a better story to be told. It's just like, it feels like it's a first time writing kind of assignment where they're just like, I want to make a game, I want to make the story seem complex, this is what we're gonna do. So yeah, I feel like the story could be way more improved. I'm gonna stop rambling about the story, because if this was not a spoiler-free review, I would shred to bits the story, because I had so many holes. There are so many holes. There are so many issues. Okay, I'm just gonna move on before I actually spoil something. Okay, I'm getting angry, but I did enjoy the game. Before we get any further, this is not a hate review. I did have fun, but the story just didn't sit well with me. Alright, so let's move on to the gameplay. Like I said, I do enjoy the gameplay. I loved Resident Evil. So the game uses tank controls, but when you switch to controller, it feels like they're no longer tank controls. They're like generic controls. I don't know if that's just me mentally thinking that's fine, but when you're like using the keyboard, it's hold left, you turn and walk forward. Tank controls, literal tank controls. But when you switch to controller, it just felt like regular movement. I don't know if that's intended by the developers or if that's a bug, but that's how it was. I also switched to controller just because the first memo I found literally just said, it just showed controller controls, not keyboard controls. So I was like, it's a controller game, I'm gonna use a controller. But yeah, moving past the controls, the main bulk of the game is running around solving puzzles and killing enemies in the mansion. It's a classic Resident Evil type game where ammo is super limited, saves are limited, which you need a specific item. You find, in this case, I think it's like a tape, recording tape for like an old, I don't even know what they're called. It was like recording devices. That's what I'm gonna call. And of course, healing items are very limited as well. During my playthrough, I had a problem near the start with save points, but towards the end I had about 10 left over on my character, just because the save locations are so sporadic as well. So like initially in the first mansion area, you're introduced to like 6 or 7 save spots, but then as the gameplay goes on, you never go back to those places willingly. So it's not like, oh, let me go save because I'm already here. It's, you have to go out of your way to go save. So I guess that's why I didn't use it. Like there was like segments of like 4 hours of me playing without a save, which is terrible. You should never do. Save often, save like every hour. But I didn't die, thankfully. But anyway, combat wise, the game does have a quite good selection of weapons, I want to say. You start the game with a nail gun given to you by the priest. Don't know why the priest has a nail gun, but he does. You also unlock a crowbar in the exact same room, which just means you have the ranged weapon with limited ammo and a crowbar with unlimited ammo. I think I only ever used the crowbar to finish enemies off. I never fought them solely on the crowbar, just because they always attack faster than you, which is which just makes the crowbar kind of useless unless they're already down on the floor. You also unlock a shotgun towards like a third of the way through the game. You get like 2 parts and you have to build it. But the shotgun's really busted. It like takes out enemies instantly, and you get a lot of ammo, so it's not bad to use like once in a while. The final weapon I'm not going to spoil because it was quite entertaining when I found it. I got extremely excited, then sad, then excited again. But yeah, there is another weapon. I'm not going to mention it because I want to say it's a spoiler because it's towards like the 60% mark of the game, maybe later. But yeah, there's that. Those are the weapons. Shooting them, it's really auto aim. You just gotta face in the direction you shoot, and she like auto like aims for you. So shooting's not bad. It's quite easy. So that's combat done. Puzzles. As you know from my previous survival horror games, I do love my puzzles in games. I do like them a lot, and there were a lot of them here, and they were very fun and creative. There was a few I hated because unlike most games where they tell you stuff that you need to know, so for example, a game might show you a device that you've never seen because you're like, I don't know, 17 and you've never seen a specific item, and it'll just tell you, hey, did you know this item works like this and blah blah blah, and you can do it like this. So like, I didn't need a lot of those hints. There was only 2, I think, puzzles that really stumped me, and that wasn't because I lacked knowledge. It was actually, one of them was because I lack knowledge. I lack a lot of knowledge. Let me just say that. But so they do, like, you need some prior knowledge of how some stuff works, because the game's not going to explain it to you. It's not even trial and error at this point. Like, if you don't know how a floppy disk works, you're not going to have a fun time in one of the puzzles. Let me tell you that for sure. Like, I know how one works and I still struggled because the game is not very clear. But yeah, they could do a lot better with explaining stuff, like how you're meant to solve the puzzles, because they're very, very abstract in some cases, that like to the point where I was just like, what is going on? I asked in chat, and chat was like, I don't know. We're all grabbing our heads like, no, not like this. I got stuck on a puzzle for 40 minutes straight because I don't know how pitches work, how musical pitches work. Like, 2 of the sounds sounded exactly the same, but apparently they were way off. Sorry, I'm like rambling about a puzzle. There was another one that I didn't get, but someone in my chat just instantly like that got, which helped out a lot. I probably would have been stuck there for like 30 minutes as well, because again, the game doesn't really tell you much. It doesn't explain much, and it doesn't tell you much. There could have been like a lot of hints, like put around the place, that could have helped you. That would have made the puzzles easier, but not necessarily too easy. If you just said, like on a puzzle, let's say on a painting you showed the date, or like on another painting you say, huh, I wonder why he's holding his sword like this. Something like that would have helped a long way, because you would have realized it is a part of the puzzle. It's not just an abstract thing in the game that's just there to fill the room. Sometimes it does help. But yeah, like I said, I do enjoy the gameplay like this. It's not perfectly implemented. It's clunky in some places. It is trying to replicate Resi 1, and it did a fantastic job at doing that. On God, everyone in my chat was like, "Rah, is this a Resi 1 clone?" The second I was playing it. So yeah, they did a really good job at emulating Resi 1 gameplay. And I'm going to compare it to Resident Evil 1, because it feels like it took a lot from that game and tried to bring it up to like more puzzly 2021 kind of thing. But yeah, based on what I've said, I think the gameplay could have been better, but it's a solid 7 out of 10. It's pretty high up there. It's really very, very good. Design wise, let's take some time to talk about some of the designs. So the character designs, the main character, strange design. doesn't feel like she fits in to the area, because everything's like creepy and demonic, and then you have her. She's a bit too bright for it. I want to say, like, I don't mind the design. It's just it did feel jarring in some locations where you have like a dark corridor with like demonic signs, and you just see her. So it's a bit jarring. Her color contrast, I guess, of the clothes, that could have been changed, but I guess clothes are clothes, so it's not really their fault for that. But yeah, the enemy designs, they were great, apart from the final boss and the ghost. They were questionable. Yeah, the ghost was a bit shitty and not well explained, that entire section. But the final boss, dear God, please don't do that again. That was horrid. That thing was just bad. Like a bad design for a boss. Please, not again. Level design, like I said earlier, Resident Evil-esque, Resident Evil 1-esque. A lot of tight corridors, static camera angles in a lot of places, like really fun camera angles, which I loved. There was like corridors where you run away from the screen and you like the camera didn't move, and it looked amazing. Some of the camera angles were so good. They were so good. But they could have done better on the backtracking, because there was a lot of sections where you just had to run for about 5 minutes straight. Like, they could have added in like shortcuts and more shortcuts. There were shortcuts, but they could have put in some more to just lighten the burden of running around. Like, I know some people try and hit the like 10-hour mark minimum, or the like at least play 2 hours so you can't refund the game. But I don't know, do most people refund games? Like, I hope not, because I like to pay for my games. If I enjoy the experience, I continue with it. But yeah, there's that. As for music, the music was gloomy, sad, immersive. I really loved the main menu music. It really put you in the mood for the game. The other memorable music was like the opera style music towards the end of the game in like the catacombs area. But other than that, it wasn't very special. The voice acting was quite robotic. But overall, I think the design and music deserves an 8 out of 15. It was quite good. So, on to personal enjoyment. I really did enjoy this game. That sounds so robotic. Let me try that again, alright? So, I'm gonna keep that in. Why did I sound so robotic? I was like, a lot of me, yes, I enjoy game. No, so my personal enjoyment for the game. I really don't like calling it this section because it seems so weird, but yeah, I do enjoy the game. I love survival horror games, and this is a good one. The story is very bad. It's laughably bad because it's so generic and forgettable. The gameplay was decent. Most of the puzzles in the game were really good. There were fun moments. Some were like, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't think of that. Others questionable at some stages, but it really did feel fun. I wish they did explain like 1 or 2 things more. I would like give some slight hints, because they really left it open-ended. I understand that when you're like making the game, you know the puzzle you're thinking of, so you expect people to think of it as well. But genuinely, when you're looking at something blankly, people don't know what's inside your head, and I feel like a lot of people miss that because they're like, oh, obviously this means that because I gave this hint. And most people really don't. You have to remember that not everyone's in your head. That's one of the things you have to consider when making games. Not everyone knows what you're thinking exactly, and not everyone knows everything you know. So you have to explain some bits. That's why a lot of like AAA titles make really easy puzzles, because they know not everyone has the knowledge. And that's why they give like a lot of hints. They're like, ooh, look at the book. I wonder if the book has the answer, because not everyone catches things the first time around. Some people don't even read the books, so they wouldn't even catch a lot of that. But yeah, there are a lot of jump scares, and not a lot. I want to say there's like 4 or 5. I say a lot because I'm used to like none. I prefer like immersive kind of thriller kind of things. not jump scares, but there are some. They're very sparingly placed, I might add. They're used in some places, but very rarely. It's surprisingly rare to see them in this game. The game took me about 10 hours to complete. So as you know, it is just about in the optimal range. I would say this, the game does deceive you a lot. At around the 5-hour mark, you think you're at end game. You think you're about to finish everything because you essentially everything seems like it's about to tie up everything. You're done. But no, the game has an extra 5 hours and you have to go at it. Like normally you base it on like your map. Normally people sense it by the map, so they're like, I have this map. This map has X amount of floors. Once I've cleared out all the floors and all the puzzles in these rooms, I should be done. But this game doesn't give you the map for the last 50% of the game. And that's what really gets you. They also like restrict the puzzle items you pick up. So like in a lot of cases, you'll just start picking up random items and you'll be like, okay, I haven't used this, so I still have a puzzle to do with that. Oh, I saw this thing, this terminal. I haven't used that one and it's accessible, so that means there's a puzzle for this. Towards the end of the game, they literally give you nothing. And they expect you to go on, find puzzle items in those areas, and then move further. Like, it is very deceiving of how long the game actually is. So when I was playing it, I thought it was going to be quick, so around like 1 AM, I was like, oh, I'm at the end game, I'm just going to play another hour, finish it. 6 AM rolls around, and then, by that time I'm done. That's how deceiving the game is. You need to make it so you can tell where you are in the progression. Don't let people think they're at the end game, because they'll just keep playing more and more to reach it. And then they'll be like, well, if I stop now, I have about 5 minutes in the next session. I want to just finish it off now. Please, for the love of God, when you're developing a game, please, please let people know where they are in the progress. It helps out us so much. All right? I really hope, because the developer of this game, or developers, did a fantastic job. Like, the gameplay is solid, but there are things that they can learn, and I really hope they release another game with like things they've learned from this one. I really do hope they do come out with another like survival horror game, because that was, I do personally wish they took like hints from these videos, from reviews, from people playing it, and they like learned from them and made a better product for the next time around. But yeah, overall, I'm gonna give the game a 7 out of 10 for personal enjoyment. I do love the concept, and I really hope the developers of this game see this video, see my comments, and like add them to their next title if they're making one, because I do want to see what they do after this. I am really excited after playing the first game, which may seem weird after what my scoring is, but I see a lot of room for improvement and a lot of areas they can do so much in if they continue the way they go. And that about does it for the review, I guess. If you were keeping track, I gave Tormented Souls a 26 out of 45, putting it just barely at a B tier. And I would definitely say play this game. It is a B tier game, but I would definitely recommend it if you do love the survival horror genre. If you loved Resident Evil 1, you'll love this game. If you're not a big fan of like really like horror-y survival puzzle kind of games, you're not gonna like this. If you're more action based, you're not gonna like this. This is very much for people who enjoy the classics. But yeah, that's the review. Something I do want to mention, I did start a new channel called Denyard VODs. It's just I'm gonna just export everything from Twitch to that channel. So if you ever want to see the full gameplay for a game that I've reviewed, most likely check out that channel. You're probably gonna get the entire playthrough there. Hey, it's pretty good. But yeah, that about does it for the review. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. For now, peace.